Former President Jacob Zuma has until Wednesday to file an affidavit with the Constitutional Court on what sanctions he believes would be appropriate should he be found in contempt of court. It's all to do with a case brought by the State Capture Commission, which wants Zuma jailed for up to 2 years for defying a court order that he participate in its hearings into alleged looting and the abuse of state resources during his presidency. Now, it remains to be seen if the former president will even reply, as he's not participated in proceedings in the Constitutional Court so far. Let's talk about this. I'm joined by Cathy Powell, Associate Professor of Public Law at UCT. Cathy, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. So the statement from the Constitutional Court dropping late on Friday has set tongues wagging, but is this unusual to give a person in a case such as this time the former president, a chance to suggest their own sanction?
It's very unusual. In fact, it's unprecedented. From the research I've been able to do. I've been contacting colleagues in criminal law. Of course, once somebody has been convicted in a normal criminal trial, there's then a separate hearing about the penalty. And at that point, the accused or the accused's lawyer will try to suggest what the penalty should be. But that happens after conviction, and that happens when the accused is actually sitting in the courtroom. What you've got here is an accused who's refused to turn up. And bear in mind that the court order was an order to go to the commission. And by not obeying it, Zuma has committed contempt of court. And that is what the Constitutional Court still has to decide. It hasn't decided it yet. Instead, it sent him a letter saying, if we decide you're guilty of contempt of court, what do you think your sentence should be? That is just crazy. I can't find anybody of my colleagues that I've consulted who could even believe that it had been done, particularly in light of the fact that the Constitutional Court has already rebuked the Zondo Commission for being, in effect, too nice to Zuma and giving him all these second chances. This is a second chance. It's a third or a fourth or a fifth chance. It doesn't make sense.
Well, they did say in that statement last night, the Constitutional Court, that once the former president has filed this affidavit of no more than 15 pages, if indeed he does, the state capture inquiry would then be given an opportunity to make its own submission. Does that then balance it out in any way, legally?
Well, that would always be the requirement, that you hear both sides. I mean, they would definitely not leave that step out in any legal process. The question is, why is it happening before the conviction? And secondly, why is it happening when President Zuma's made it clear, former President Zuma's made it clear he's not participating anyway? So how do you ask a man what his penalty should be for something which he thinks he didn't do? You're asking him, you're saying to him, if we find you've done something wrong, what penalty should we impose? And his answer is, I've done nothing wrong. He's made that so clear. So why go through this highly unusual step when you know all you're doing is wasting another week?
Do you agree then?
Not required by law to do it.
Do you agree then, Cathy, with the commentary that said this very move from the Constitutional Court suggests that in all likelihood the former president will be found to have been in contempt?
Quite frankly, I can't see how any other conclusion could be reached. We all know the evidence. The Constitutional Court said, Zuma, obey the summons. And Zuma said, no, I won't. And then the summons came and he didn't obey it. So for contempt of court to be established, you need to show deliberate disobedience of deliberate non-compliance with a court order. We've got that. We can see it. So I can't see how the Constitutional Court could actually decide anything else.
At the end of those proceedings, when the State Capture Commission presented its case to the Constitutional Court, the former president then issued that long statement saying what happened there was basically a display of how the judiciary was being used as part of an agenda to take him down, essentially. What happens then if Wednesday comes and goes and he simply chooses not to file this affidavit? Is that more legal trouble?
Well, I think we can safely assume he's not going to file an affidavit. I can't see any reason why he should suddenly change tack at this point. What he's doing when he accuses judges of being in the pockets of politicians and of running with with some sort of nefarious agenda that he doesn't provide evidence for, is another form of contempt of court. And what that could have a bearing on is the penalty that is imposed. And that was one of the things that the advocate for the Commission made clear in the oral presentation, is that what the Constitutional Court has to do here is to rescue the dignity and to show the authority of the entire judiciary, because Zuma is trying to wipe it all out. So if he not only does not turn up at the Zondo Commission when he's been told to, and he doesn't turn up at the Constitutional Court, and he makes scurrilous claims about the judges without offering any evidence, then the sentence should be more severe.
For all intents and purposes, the judiciary has now been dragged into a political scandal, as it were. How tight a rope does the Constitutional Court have to walk on this to avoid its name coming out soiled at the end of it all?
You know, I think it should stop trying if that is in fact what it's doing. It's become patently obvious that Zuma himself is never going to be convinced that he's not being victimized by the court or anybody who decides against him. So stop trying to convince Zuma. And if Zuma is going to see any finding that he doesn't like as a campaign against him, then his followers may feel the same thing. So all the court can do is to provide good reasoning for its conclusions and to assert its authority. I think it's already been tarnished. That was the work of Jacob Zuma and the faction that supports him.
Cathy
But
Powell.
it's been tarnished by the RET faction as well. But it has to keep doing its job.
Cathy Powell, Associate Professor of Public Law at the University of Cape Town. Good to speak to you. Thank you.